Hey YouTube, this is Amusement Park and Wrestling Fans 62. Um, First, to everybody who maybe used my other channel, which was Kentucky Wildcat Fan 78, due to some reasons, I had to switch to this channel. Now, today's video is going, with it being October, I am going to do a movie review. Now, the first movie review I'm going to do is not from a movie that came out not long ago. It's called The Dead Don't Die. Now, this movie, first of all, will be a little bit difficult due to naming. So I'm going to have to do the best I can. Now, it starts off with two officers played by Bill Murray and another guy. I don't know his name. Driving around. And then they stopped at a local cemetery and they went into the bushes and they were trying to talk with the local homeless guy. And there were some words exchanged, and the homeless guy was being accused of stealing someone's animal, I think. Now, after that, the next night, at the local diner, the head waitress was getting ready to leave for the night, and because they were closed, and the person that I guess the diner hired to clean was also there as well. And she was getting ready to start cleaning when these two zombies come in and basically ate them, so to speak. Now, the next morning, Bill Murray and the other officer, along with a female officer as well, they got to the diner and saw what happened, and they could not think about what happened. They were saying it could be this, it could be that. I believe they said something about wild dogs or something. Now, later that day, they were still thinking about what happened. After that, some weird things started to happen. While that's going on at the local gas station, this guy, I can't think of his name, was in there, and their version of UPS, I think it was like USPS or something, came in and delivered something to him. And they were talking about, zombie apocalypse and stuff like that. Well, later that day at the gas station, these three friends pulled up in an old Pontiac car. One of them is played by Selena Gomez. Now, they were talking about, she was asking them where could they stay for the night and stuff like that. So he recommended the hotel in downtown So, later that night, later that day, I should say, they checked in at the hotel, and the officers were at the hotel, and Selena, or her friends, come out to get her suitcase and some other things. Now, they were saying, like, the officers with the hotel manager was talking about some of the weird things that were happening, and they couldn't quite figure out what was going on. Some of the weird things that were going on throughout the movie was like animals disappearing, and some stuff like that. Now, that night, that's when a lot of the weird things started to happen. Like, for example, at the hotel, the hotel manager was figuring out where his cats were. He went out and called them by name, and like a minute later, he got eaten by zombies. Now, some of the other things that were weird that I actually found, I'll get to that. Also, the person who ran the morgue was experiencing some weird things, but they kind of did it in a comedic fashion where it was like this couple who got struck by lightning. One set eyes would open on, let's say, the wife, and then as she would close it, the husband's would open, and she was like, "Are you doing this to mess with me?" So they rose up, and then she took a samurai sword and cut their heads off. Now, that night, at the police station, they started seeing all the different zombies out walking about. And of course, they had the door locked and bolted so they wouldn't get in. And the person from the morgue came to the police station and asked, "What should we do?" And she was like, "Well, I'll manage here if you guys want to go out and go on patrol." And so they agreed to, so they had shotguns and some other things, and they were going around, and they went by the hardware store, and saw it was boarded up, and they were like, "Oh crap, I hope those two people working there are okay." They boarded the front door up, but they forgot to board the back door up. And of course, like, I'd say 50-ish zombies rushed in, and, well, you can think of the rest on that one. And also, so after that, they were walking around, and so they went by the hotel. Well, they saw the room that Selena and her friends were in. They went in and saw they were all dead from being eaten. So one of the officers made sure they wouldn't turn into zombies. I'm putting it that way. So the female officer was like, why did you do that? He was like, well, I'm just making sure they don't. So then after that they went to the cemetery. Why you went to the cemetery when there's a zombie apocalypse, I have no idea. And so the patrol car got stuck basically in dirt and body parts. Now, at the time, so they're like, well, crap, what do we do now? Well, there's like a horde of zombies around the patrol car. And the female officer in the, I think it was driver's side window in the back of the car, saw her dead grandmother, and she was like, I can't take it anymore, I'm coming for you, Grandma. She went out and got eaten and got turned into a zombie. So they're like, well, what do we do now? And so they were like, you said earlier something about the end of the script is like, they're like, yeah, it's not going to be good for us. So, while that's going on, the person from the morgue, who was Scottish, came in one of the officers' cars, personal cars, into the cemetery and got to the middle of the cemetery. And as that was happening, the zombies turned away from the patrol car and went and looked at the Scottish person. And so an alien came, a spaceship came out of nowhere and basically took her away. And they're like, well, there's always something weird about her. And they're like, I did not see that coming. Well, so then they focus back on the zombies. So they're like, okay, what do we do now? So they talked about what the script said, and they're like, well, let's give it our best. So they got a shotgun and a set of like hedge clippers, I think it was. So they did the best they could, but there was just so many zombies that overwhelmed them. Now, some things about the movie that was good and some of the things that was odd about it. Now, good about it, I liked in the movie how they did some of the current today's style mixed in with a horror movie or a zombie movie. Like, for example, there was a scene in the movie where you saw a group of zombie kids and you could hear them saying Wi-Fi. I thought that was kind of funny. And now the other person, I can't think of his name in the movie, he had a hat that was similar to Donald Trump's Make America Great Again hat, but they kind of redid it, just, I guess, for reasons. Now, what could they worked on in the movie to make it better? The only thing I could say about to make it better was when a zombie got killed, don't make it like a greenish dust or something. Make it like an actual blood-ish scene. Overall, other than that, I think personally it was a good movie. I do recommend you seeing it and tell me what you think.